welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Paul and Elliot. This is a final prediction video for Johnny Fisher versus Alen Babic, which takes place tonight at the Copper Box in London. Gents, it's a fun heavyweight fight. Interested to see what your final predictions are saying. Let's not deny Johnny Fisher is a strong favourite in this fight. I'm seeing odds of 1 to 10 for him to win, 1 to 6 to win by stoppage. So it's fairly clear what the bookies think are going to happen, but I'm interested to see what you guys think as well. Elliot, I will go to you first. I know you've done your preview, you've had time to think about it. But it's a fun one, isn't it? What's your final prediction going into this one?
Yeah, I'm straight with the bookies on this one. Starting to be perfectly honest with you, I'm Warfish all the way. To be honest, I'm Bosch Army on this. I think it's going to be a victory. I think it's going to be a KO victory as well. To be perfectly honest with you, I think he's maybe we'll break down why we think that is, but I think he's frankly too big and too strong for Babic. I think Babic is a very limited fighter. I still think Johnny Fish is a limited fighter. Don't get me wrong. But I think the physical attributes he has, I think he'll be able to just blow Babic away. I really do. I don't think Babic has got enough to really keep him off him. And I just think, I think he's going to actually just overwhelm him. I've seen a lot of people saying first 3 rounds. I'm not convinced by that personally. I think it'll be kind of middle of the fight. I can see somewhere between sort of 4 and 6. I think 1 to 3 is a bit aggressive for my liking, frankly. But I think he'll get to him, and I think he'll beat him by KO.
Yeah, I think Babic. I think one issue with Babic is he's not really a heavyweight, whereas Johnny Fisher very much is. And we've seen Babic kind of move up a level and really kind of get decimated inside a round against Rosansky over a year ago now. I think my only argument would be that Johnny Fisher arguably hasn't fought above Southern Area level at this stage. Maybe has he fought at English level? I'm not convinced, to be honest. Does it worry you at all that he is moving up to someone? Alen Babic has fought people above Southern Area level on more than one occasion, and won. Does that worry you at all, Elliot? That it is just kind of a step up in levels.
It plays on, it does play on my mind a bit because you look obviously, Molina's on that record of Babic for some reason, like a bizarre name that's on there. But I think I agree with you. I don't think Johnny Fisher's fought above. Well, definitely not above English level. When you can make shoehorn any of those guys in at English level, but definitely not really above. Definitely not above that. So it is a concern. But I also think you look at the kind of way he fights. I think it's going to be a case of coming forward and just throwing punches, essentially trying to decapitate Babic. I look at the way Babic fights, and at no point do I see a man who's elusive and going to really get away from that either. So I think Babic is kind of, even though he's fought at a higher level, I think he's almost kind of style-wise tailor-made for this fight for Fisher and as well in some ways. I think he'll just get caught at some point. So yeah, it does. It concerns me in the sense that, well, to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I've also gone maybe a bit later than a sort of 1 to 3 round blowout. Frankly, the fact that Babic has been there, and obviously the fact that he carries power as well. So you're assuming that he might try and just trade with Johnny Fisher, which I think probably does play in Johnny Fisher's as being a favourite as well. But we've also seen Babic KO'd, so it wouldn't be the first time Babic has been stopped. So I think, the bigger man's going to, I just can't see anything past Fisher hitting him. And if you look at where the money and the investment is and the momentum behind Johnny Fisher as well, I think it'd be absolutely disastrous from everyone involved if Alen Babic was to somehow beat Johnny Fisher. I just don't see it happening. So I think it will be a KO. Even if it went to points, I still think, which I don't think it will, I'd still have Fisher winning on points somehow. But I think, I think it'll be a stoppage somewhere, sort of 4 to 6, like I say.
Yeah, I think Fisher. I think it's fair to say he's been protected. Obviously, he is the biggest ticket seller in the UK. And yeah, for him to lose would be disastrous to that. Paul, I'll hand over to you now. What's your final prediction?
Yeah, mate, kind of echoing everything Elliot said there. I think I said in the preview when we did that Johnny Fisher would win inside. I think I said 2 rounds maybe at that time, and I'm going to stick with that. I do believe Johnny Fisher is very capable of ending this fight within 5 or 6 minutes. Honestly, I think what Elliot said there, and he hit the nail on the head, is that stylistically, I think Babic will play into Fisher's hands a bit because, let's be honest, Johnny Fisher's not going to have to go looking for Alen Babic because Babic himself will be going for the knockout as well. He probably knows he's not going to outpoint Johnny Fisher, so he'll be going for the stoppage from early on, which he did against Rosansky, which was when he got clipped and put out. I think the Rosansky knockout defeat is an interesting one for me because a Cooley fight for Rosansky, you're looking at Rosansky and you're thinking he stopped everybody. He actually knocked out Artur Szpilka in a round, who we obviously know is a former heavyweight title challenger all those years ago. He was beating Deontay Wilder before he got knocked out. So you looked at that and you think, you know what, maybe Rosansky's actually quite decent. But then you look at the way Coley dismantled him at Bridgerweight there recently. And I just think, like, size wise, like Johnny Fisher's a lot heavier than Rozanski was, will probably punch harder as well than Rozanski. And I just think as soon as he lands on Alen Babic, the legs will go to the legs will go to jelly, and I fancy this being over inside 2 rounds.
Brilliant. No, cool. Brutal predictions from both of you. Yeah, I I lean more towards what Elliot's gonna say. I think Fisher will be a bit just tentative for the first 2 or 3 rounds. That's partly because I question whether he's faced someone who's going in truly thinking they're going to beat him, if I'm honest with Fisher. So yeah, I'll go slightly later, and I'll kick things off with kind of a final kind of round prediction that we're all going to do. I think this could just go a bit later than people think it's going to. I'm going to go for round 5. I think it will be fairly one-way traffic, but I think if Babic gets knocked down, he's going to get back up. And I feel like, as I said, I think Fisher will be tentative, so which will delay the knockout. Paul, we'll go back to you. What round are you going for here?
If I had to put money on one round, I'll go for the second round. I'll let Babbage see the end of the bell in the first round.
So round 5, round 2. Elliot, Greg, what are you going for? Give us a round.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I quite like 5 as well. So it's a question of 4 and 6. I think
You can go for 5 as well if you want to.
I think 5 for me, 5 or 6 rather than 4 and 5. Put it that way. I think it'll go like I think I agree with what you were saying. I think it'll be a bit tentative first point. I think the Fisher will obviously in the back of his mind also know that Babic. I mean, this is a massive platform for Babic if he wins this, so we'll be motivated. So I think that will also play into his preparation. So yeah, I think 5 or 6. To be honest with you, if you go 5, I'll go 6. That's where I'm going.
Fantastic. All right. Well, quite varied predictions there. I think a lot of people seem to be going for rounds 1 to 3 for this fight, including Paul. So we will see what happens. Johnny Fisher versus Alen Babic tonight. Paul, Elliot, thank you for your time. Thank you for your final predictions, and I will speak to both of you again very soon.
Cheers, guys.
As always, guys, thank you very much for watching.